So, what did you think? Let's rank this film on the Cageometer.
Vincent, Vinny, are you queer? Vincent, Vince, where does Valley Girl from 1983 rate on your Cageometer?
Oh, man. Like I showed earlier, this film had a lot of negative memories around it for me just because I had a friend that just beat it into the ground when we were younger.
Literally.
Yeah, literally. But I'm glad that I've had time separation from it. Rewatching it, I was expecting to hate it like I did back then. But I actually found myself enjoying it for the most part. Mm-hmm. It's definitely not something I would personally go back and watch over and over again. I guess I just don't have that nostalgia for it. So I'll give it a 6. You know, I think for 80s, very good 80s comedy, like it fits that. But I couldn't help compare it to some other movies like it from that time, mainly Fast Time and Richman High. And I just feel like it's the poor man's version of it. Not trying to say that in a bad way, because I think, like we talked about, they did a great job with the budget, getting what they got out of it. But it just didn't. Some of the things didn't hit for me, like the goofy parents and the B line of the B story of the stepmom skip thing. Like they just didn't really. They didn't need to be there. Didn't add anything. Just felt shoehorned in. So I think if those had been a little more developed, then I would be giving it a little bit of a higher score on there. As far as Nick, I'll give him a 6 too. You know, this is early in his career. I thought he did a good job of kind of playing that heartthrob, but you could definitely tell it was a little flat at times. Just that experience wasn't there for him. Mm-hmm. But I mean, honestly, that was throughout the entire film. Like all the actors in this film were not very good, just very young in their careers, just very flat. He was not the worst, obviously. The fucking mom was the worst.
Yeah.
At some points, it's like they not give her any direction on like emotion. Like she's just like it felt like she's just reading cards off to the side. Like somebody's holding up a fucking cue card and she's just reading the lines.
Just act like a human, can you? Jesus. So I should rub him like this
like
and
this?
rub him, shake him back and forth.
Like this? Yeah, I'll give him a 6 out of 10. I think like early on in his career, he did a pretty good job overall, but the performance is a little flat. Can't really fault him. It's early on, so I don't want to beat him up for it. So 6 for both from me.
All right, Nigel, where do you rate Valley Girl on your Cageometer?
For the movie itself, I gave it a 6 as well. I really didn't like it when it started. I was just like thinking, like, oh my god, I got to sit through these vapid girls speaking almost indecipherable gibberish. But I guess that was the point of the movie, was to kind of make them unlikable and show that Julie doesn't really fit in with them because their life just is so pointless.
Yeah.
But yeah, it really grew on me as I was watching it, and I think that there are better 80s comedies and better teen comedies and romance movies and stuff out there. So I think it's not terrible, but it's there are other movies that have done it better since then. And I personally hadn't heard about this movie until we started this show. So I think it's just one of those that's got that cult staying power, but it hasn't had that, risky business level of fame or something, or Fast Times at Ridgemont High or any of those other movies from around the same time that were a lot more successful.
Yeah.
Which is wild because it was successful for the time. I mean, definitely was a success from a studio standpoint. But and I don't think Nick's career would have taken off the way it did if this hadn't been as much of a success. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe his uncle would have kept putting him in stuff, and it would eventually had that breakout. But as far as the first starring role, and I think it was a great breakout performance for him.
Yeah.
I didn't like that the conflict throughout the whole movie kind of felt pretty forced. Like it was basically driven by the teen characters' own drama and stuff within themselves, which I guess is realistic from a high school,
yeah.
but it's not necessarily what you want to see in a movie. It's sort of like, okay, I mean, maybe I'm too old now and I don't care about that stuff as much, but I can remember a time where, things were that stupid and pointless, and who you're dating meant the end of the world, and was serious business. But it seems kind of at odds with how adult this movie is in some ways.
Yeah.
Like, the amount of swearing and nudity and stuff in it, and some of the subject matter. Like, there's a poignant moment when she's talking to her dad and he's giving her advice about, like, be with who, look at who you are and who you want to be and use that to determine who you want to be with. And there's nothing wrong with somebody who looks differently or dresses different or acts different, heart wants what the heart wants. Like, that's a good heartfelt message. And then she does the opposite. But whatever. That's another teen thing, I guess.
Yeah.
I think she even mentions, like, God, why can't you guys just punish me like every other parent? Like, her parents being so accepting was just so weird, because no matter what, your kid's going to want to rebel and and break away. So you can have the coolest parents. Yeah.
Makes it less fun for her.
Right. So, so it's not a bad movie. It's not a great movie. So 6 out of 10 for me. As far as Nick Cage himself, I actually liked his performance a lot, especially considering he was 18 years old at the time, and this was his first, breakout role. So I gave him a 7 out of 10, slightly higher than the movie deserved. I think he's definitely a standout. Unlike other movies we've seen where he just, he kind of is part of the movie, I guess. This one, I felt like he was a little bit better than the source material. Gave memorable performance. Has those cagiest moments. You can see these little flashes of what's going to come in the years and decades down the road for it. So even from the get-go, he sort of had that presence and that charm, and then he grew into it more as he did more movies. But I liked him in this. I liked him in this more than I liked him in Moonstruck. So I can't remember what I gave him
more
for
to
that movie,
do
in
this movie.
Yeah. He had more to do in this movie. That's right. Yeah.
That's true. It just, for two movies that have a love story of kind of similar tone to it, it feels like he did a better job in this of selling that guy from the wrong side of the tracks. And he definitely, he's doing all this creepy stuff. It doesn't come across as creepy as much. It does seem more endearing, and maybe like he said, it's because he had a crush on the co-star. So maybe a lot of that wasn't acting. It was him genuinely trying to show his affection. So I think that helps. It gives that charming quality to it.
In that scene where they're breaking up, they were actually really dating in real life, and the director had to like put yourself in a different person's shoes and don't look at her the way that you're actually feeling towards her, and same with her. Like they were like super into each other at the time. I guess it didn't last, but Nick Cage's poems apparently worked, and they actually were dating in real life for a while.
Nice.
So
maybe that is. I mean, I feel like there's that connection there between the two of them in the movie, is despite as weird as the situation is. So they have that chemistry. And
it's like in Moonstruck, where we spoke about how the love stories felt really forced, and they didn't actually seem to have the chemistry. It's the opposite in this movie. They actually do seem to have the chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, pretty good performance for him, especially from a breakout role like that. You can see the makings of a star, and his natural talent that he has there. So
on mine, I was a little more harsh. I gave it a 5 out of 10, just because the whole creepy stalker thing kind of took me out of it a little bit. Like, I get it. It's fun and goofy, but like if you start examining it at all, it's like, holy shit, this is like psychotic behavior. Like, take no for an answer, dude. Walk away. But that was like what drove the entire third act. And also Julie's, like, everybody in her life, even her friend, the girl who played Dottie in Pee-wee's Big Adventure, was kind of like steering her towards being with Randy, and the other friends weren't. But like the people that she actually, you can tell, genuinely respects their opinion, were like, go with Randy, go with who you love. And she was just like, nah, I'm going to be with Tommy. And it was so weird because it was like, the scene before was her with her dad, and then she's at the diner, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm going back with Tommy." So there was some stuff like that. The parents threw me out of it. The mom especially threw me out of it. I was just like, dude, pick somebody who can act at least. Or like,
especially she only got like 5 lines in the movie.
Yeah, but she's in a lot of other things. I guess this was kind of like the beginning of her acting with dialogue. She had been in other stuff where she was just kind of eye candy. And I think that's kind of what they were going for in this movie too, is like, you know, when she's in the yoga pants and all that stuff and doing her stretches in the front room. I think it was more of, you know, playing to the exploitation side of things. But like she was so bad that I got to take it down a notch just because of her. And then the B plot of the creepy stepmom hitting on the 17-year-old kid, which is, you know, that's what we're supposed to assume, right? We never even find out what year these kids are in, so they might be like freshmen. Who the hell knows?
Yeah.
It's like trying to bang a 15-year-old.
They're going to
prom. I guess that's true. Yeah. Okay.
Going through driving school, so I assume 15, 16.
Driving school.
And then junior prom, so...
Is it junior prom?
Yeah, I said junior prom on there.
Okay. So correctly. They are like 17.
Yeah, so they're like 16, 17.
So she's maybe trying to get with Skip, who's 17 years old. And I, you know, she looks like she's like 25, but I got to assume that she was supposed to be like 30 something.
Yeah.
So that was creepy. I don't know.
Susie's mom's got it going on.
Yeah.
She was super hot. I get it. But yeah, and then the weird like scenes of them both kind of being like into it and then reluctant and then into it and reluctant. And I don't know. It was weird. Yeah, and I know this is not the fault of the director, but just having the abundance of titties in this movie just felt so unnecessary for the story you were trying to tell. But I get it. I get what she had to work within the system that she was given for this movie.
There were like only 2 times where felt like, okay, this fits, like with Dottie and Tommy, and then in the bathroom when Nick's banging his ex. Like those 2 scenes, I'm like, okay, I get it. Everything else, like he's creeping in the bathroom and there's tits.
And the scene with Skip and Susie
in the shower.
like,
Yeah, but that was like, I think that one was, you know, she's behind like fogged glass.
You see them together in the bed. Like you actually see her breasts in that scene too.
Yeah.
I gotta go back and research because I thought like it was all kind of like covered.
Yeah.
But I guess I looked away when they showed her boobs.
Damn it. I was disgusted.
Oh God, I can't see this.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, like I didn't like it the first time, but I actually it started to really grow on me the second time, and I started seeing more of like why people love this movie and why it's endured. And they made a remake. We haven't even talked about it, but there was a remake in 2020 that was. It was like,
it's a musical remake.
Why?
Apparently.
Why?
Yeah.
But you know,
Called
like
it Cats though. It was weird.
you could see it's endured for a long, long time. I mean, to the point where they're remaking it. You know, almost 40 years later. So I get it. But, you know, there were some things I didn't love about it. So I think a 5 is fair. Nick Cage, I gave a 6. I'm not going to be quite as generous as Nigel, but I do feel like he was the breakout in this movie. And kind of the character that really draws you in, because I feel like Julie is kind of, I don't know, she's a little bland through the movie.
Bland. Very bland.
Tommy was just kind of like, he was aggressive for the point of being aggressive, and that's what teen comedies did back then. But Nick Cage really draws you in of like, this is a real person and actually felt genuine. The reason I'm giving him lower scores though is all those little weird moments of like his like weird laugh and like his interactions with the characters on the road. Like maybe it could have been made better if there was like a second side to the conversation, but like, it just felt like him improving and doing weird shit, and didn't really. Maybe he didn't have direction of what to.
Who knows?
What to
that
be
whole
saying.
scene was weird because there's one part where somebody does speak back to him when he's like, "Oh, hey, whatever. I thought you were going with the mohawk."
Yeah, when he goes shit, that's that one where he's like, "Nice wheels, man," or whatever. But then we don't hear
He's
the
like, "No, I
Rico
pushed out."
conversation,
Yeah.
which was
But yeah,
weird.
yeah, that is weird. Yeah.
And that
was
whole
weird.
scene was weird. Of like, why? First of all, why are there so many people walking together in a group like that? Second, why do they all seem like they don't have anything going on in their heads? They're just kind of like blank humans, like zombies walking down the street. And then why do they all break dance at his car at the same time? Like,
I think it's just social commentary on Hollywood back in the 80s, dude. The scary
just
part of Hollywood.
really
Real
strange. Really, really strange. But I do feel like Nick Cage did a great job, especially for his first time out. You can see why his career continued after this. This could have been a one-off type of thing. Like I said, Martha Coolidge really, she was given lemons and made lemonade with this movie. Made a movie that people still love. I mean, people are still referencing this movie. And Kevin Smith, Quentin Tarantino saying that it's their favorite romantic comedy of all time is a pretty high praise. But Kevin Smith even said that he brought the DVD or the VHS to the hospital while his wife was giving birth, so that they could watch it, together before she had the baby and stuff. That's like, you're going to choose like, okay, we're going to be in the hospital for a while. Let's grab a movie, and he chose Valley Girl to bring.
That's too funny. It's funny, his love for Nick, man. I'm surprised that he hasn't tried to work with him because he genuinely
I think
loves
he
and appreciates
has
it.
He probably has,
tried.
yeah.
Yeah. And I think, based on the movies that Kevin Smith does and the actor that Nicolas Cage is, I just don't think that they would gel well together.
Dude, it would have been awesome if he had been in Tusk instead of Justin Lin. Or is that his name?
Justin Long.
Justin Long. Justin Lin is a basketball player.
Just seeing Nicolas Cage as the walrus would have been interesting. Yeah, but 6 out of 10, I think I think it's fair. It's not amazing.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It's definitely not a bad one, but
Right,
there were some moments that took me out.
It's early in his career.
Yeah. 18 years old. I mean,
Yeah.
Not bad.
that's
Not
pretty
bad at all.
impressive. Yeah.